Hello, everyone. I'm continuing my little um, thought process on free will and fate. And we are going to look at it from a different angle today. And I'm not going to talk about charts this time because really this is more philosophical and you can't really tell from the chart which category someone is falling into, although you will recognize the types. I usually say that people are either destiny changers, destiny makers, maybe, but change is a good word here, or destiny sufferers, or simply whining souls, those who are whining all the time. These are not very nice categories, despite the fact that, yes, if you look around, you can distinctly identify them. And it's also important to know that the first two, destiny changers and destiny sufferers, are really very common and kind of interchangeable sometimes, although I must say that much, that if you have decided that your chart suggests that you do have free will and you are able to exercise your free will, or at least make free choices in distinct important moments in life, then you are probably a destiny maker. But even then, sometimes, during your life, at certain occasions and at certain astrological significators, I'm talking about important transits, like the Saturn return, or even the second Saturn return, or the Uranus opposition, or Pluto square, the first Pluto square, which is very difficult most of the time, especially when it coincides with the third Saturn square around 36, 37. That could be a very, very difficult and very challenging time. And all of a sudden, instead of always being a destiny changer, you become a destiny sufferer. So let's look at these categories in more detail. And as I said, I might mention some astrological indicators, but we are not going to talk about your chart or anyone's chart. It's just the attitude to life. You must remember that the incarnating soul is a multi-dimensional being. It is coming from the seventh dimension, at least this is what I can figure out, because the ones below can be deciphered and experienced from the earth plane, whereas the seventh dimension, which is the soul pool itself, is something that we can hardly ever really glimpse at from the earth plane, but we know that it exists because that is where we come from. And whenever the soul decides to come down to the earth plane to fulfill a destiny and to work on his or her karma, that is usually done by a lot of preparation, and finally the incarnating soul chooses its parents and is there at the moment of conception, creating the physical body that he or she will need. And then, of course, it is, the baby is born with a birth chart, and that this chart is the blueprint upon which the whole life is going to be resting. So if you look at the birth chart from this point of view, as I said previously, you can actually decipher how much free will you had, and whether or not you are able to move around kind of freely, making choices. And this usually enables you, not always, but usually enables you to take responsibility and become your destiny's own maker. What do I mean by this? At certain moments of time, you are able to make choices. You can exercise your free will. You can decide where you live, with whom you live, how you live, what you study, what you work. Now, of course, children usually aren't able to do this, but I'm talking about adults mostly. And except for some really, really sad situations, even children have some sort of movement. Before we continue, I was meaning to describe astrology. For a couple of times, I almost thought about mentioning it, and this is the time really, because it will make you understand more what I'm driving at. The fact that astrology is really described, or could be most easily described by chaos theory. Chaos theory is a relatively new mathematical phenomenon. It was created by a young mathematician in the 60s. Actually, I believe it was in 1968, and he was trying to put together a computer program to predict the weather. So it would have been like some sort of meteorological computer program. In 68, you had those huge, elaborate computers that were like as big as this room, really, and with big fans, you know, because it had to be cool all the time. It's 16 degrees centigrade in the room. And it was right before Thanksgiving. And this young guy was kind of eager to set everything in motion. He was almost ready with, he thought he was almost ready with his program. So what he did was, instead of using the computer's system, he typed in very quickly the relevant data and left the premises, left the computer to work. And next day when he went in, so he went home to his family, had his proverbial Thanksgiving dinner. Next morning when he entered the room, looked at the data, and the data was completely wrong and crooked and jammed and whatever. So he couldn't, you know, first he was shocked because he was hoping to have a nice little computer program. He was going to make it big and rich with it. He really believed that you know, the weather can be modeled and it could be predicted for sure what is going to happen. But it can't really. I mean, it's ridiculous because at the moment I live now in Budapest, and we had a terrible drought. We hadn't had a single drop of rain for like a month. And finally, they predicted rain all day. It did arrive now, so finally we will have some rain. But you know, even if it's very close, you never know. And if you live in London or anywhere in England, you know that 9 times out of 10 they have no idea what kind of weather we are going to have. It's just something. That's why English people used to talk about the weather all the time. Before there were channels and YouTube and internet and whatever. But anyhow, so he then spent his life, actually not his whole life, but that portion of his life, by trying to understand what went wrong, what he did in a wrong way, so that he couldn't arrive at this nice little program that would have made him rich. And this is how chaos theory was born, because he realized that the slightest changes can have a totally different end result. Because what happened, as he soon realized, that instead of putting in 6 digits, he only put in 3-digit numbers, and those tiny little fractions simply started to give completely different data. So he actually invented chaos theory. So let's look at the main premises, how chaos theory and astrology can be united. What chaos theory says is that at the outset, the circumstances allow processes to develop into a certain form, the birth chart. Then the slightest change during the process can actually totally change the outcome. Free will, how you exercise your free will. And there are certain bifurcation points where the process could be totally halted, hindered, or becoming very, very successful. Well, those are your answers to progressions and transits. So when you put the natal chart in time and you start making predictions, this is what the astrological triggers can actually do for you. And if you go with the flow and you pay attention to those changes, you can actually change your life. This is practically it. So those who are destiny changers understand all this, and they pay attention to what is going on in their lives, and they try to find answers, and they make the good reactions. I'm not saying they are always right. I'm not saying they are always successful, but when they are unsuccessful or unhappy, they are able to change the course of events by which they might become happier or healthier or just thinner or richer or something like that. So those are the destiny changers. At the same time, you do have destiny, the ones who are stuck in their own destiny. That's why I was trying to find another word, and I would appreciate if you could let me know in the comment section what you suggest instead of destiny sufferers. But those who simply suffer life, they always suffer because they are unable to make changes. And those people are usually stuck in their lives. They are unable to cope, and they understand that it's usually their fault. So they're not actually putting the blame on somebody else, but still they are unable to change. This whole conversation that we are having now was triggered by a very, very old client. This girl visited me about 10 or 12 years ago, really, really way back in time. And she watched my series, and she told me that she's really stuck. She has 3 kids, she has no money, her relationship is totally stuck in many ways. She doesn't know what to work. She's at home with the children with very little money or no income. She's trying a couple of things. She has many talents. By the way, just to give you a piece of chart information, she has Chiron on her midheaven, and Chiron on the midheaven is the shaman, is the healer. So someone who should become a healer, and she does have very nice healing properties. She's just unable to move around. Now her children are not that young. The eldest is, I think, 17, a teenager, and the youngest is like 12 or 13. Those children, I'm not saying they could be left alone, but those children have their own private lives. So she could actually study something or go out or try a 4-hour work, anything, but she's not doing anything. She's at home and she's concentrating on feeling miserable. And she's not blaming anyone else. So that's the key, because the ones who are called whining souls usually blame someone else. I'm saying is that she's unable to move, and here comes the important part, because what she says is, I told her many times, what to do, how to proceed, what to learn, how to try to work with her abilities, how to actually develop those abilities further, to take them further, to utilize them. And she kept saying that, no, at the moment, I'm not strong enough. I need to get stronger before I can proceed. And finally, I told her that you are sitting the horse on the wrong side. I don't know whether you have this expression. Sorry, English is my 3rd language. Okay, I was born in Germany, so I did learn German when I was very young. Hungarian is my mother tongue, because my mother was Hungarian. So English is really a 3rd language for me. So I apologize for all the mistakes I'm making. And as I said, I'm grateful if you tell me what would be a better expression. But I told her that the problem is that it's not going to be better. So those who are destiny sufferers are really suffering because they think they are not strong enough to make the changes. And the slightest change, think back on chaos theory, the slightest change could actually bring things into full-blown process. And you can succeed just by changing your habits slightly, or just getting up half a day earlier, or really putting your room in order, or just, I don't know, changing your attitude towards life. Even if it seems hard, even if you suffer from multiple shortcomings and obstacles, even then you have some sort of free movement at your disposal, which you should understand. And also, you should make the effort, really. I understand if you have many young children, that will be very, very tiresome. If you have long hours to work and then your household work, housework, that's also very tiring. I understand everything. I'm a woman myself, and I went through life exactly the same way. But still, you can manage. You can make yourself do it. All you need is will. You want to change? Okay, fine. So think about first, if your circumstances are stuck, or you are stuck in your circumstances, then think about what you would change. What is the first step to make yourself feel better? And the first step might be very well to get up earlier. When my children were young, I used to get up together with them about 10 minutes earlier. And then I realized, you know what, it's not good for me, because I tried to put myself in order and the children in order and pack them to lunch. And I realized, you know what, I'm rushing, I'm not paying attention, I'm not talking to them. So what I did was I woke up an hour earlier every day. I woke up at 5. And by the time I had to wake them up, I was ready. I had already my cup of coffee, even 2, and I was able to smile. I was able to put my full attention towards their needs, and it changed my life. So that little thing, that okay, I went to bed earlier 1 hour. I didn't sleep less. I just reorganized my life. I didn't watch the telly, and I just didn't spend too much time. It was not even hard. I just had to make the changes here. So that's how you can become a destiny changer, even if you are a destiny sufferer. And of course, admittedly, we do have certain periods in our lives when we are stuck, and when life is very, very difficult, when a loved one is very sick, or you really are totally overwhelmed by the tasks that you need to accomplish. But even then, you can change. Who don't seem to be able to change are the third group of people, whom I call whining souls. Now, these are the people who are constantly whining and suffering, and it's always someone else to blame. I don't really know what to do about them. Sometimes I tried really very hard, because occasionally I find them as well. I mean, they find me as well. And then I was trying to have them. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. So if you have a whining soul around you, try to teach him or her some better life skills, because obviously it doesn't take you anywhere if you just feel like, a whiner. And stop being a whiner if you are one. I hope you're not. I hope you are a destiny changer, and let's kick ass and be happy in this life. Bye-bye.